Hello YouTube. Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting in a Fan. The date, well, let me see. It's after midnight, so for me, the date is actually Tuesday, May 29th, 2018. The time is approximately 12:15 a.m. It is the night before the full moon in Sagittarius, and I normally would be engaged in a bright moon ritual. Bright moon is the term that I was taught refers to the night before the full moon. However, that didn't go the way I wanted it to. And although I still give myself grief for not engaging in every bright moon ritual that I can, I know that sometimes some things take precedence, and there you go. So before I go any further, I want to tell you about the tea that I'm drinking. I've really been enjoying these cosmic combos. So I have one tea bag of Stash Spiced Dragon Red Chai. It's so ironic. I purchased this from my awesome audiovisual person, and I have had more of the tea than he has. Okay? What can I, look at that. And one tea bag of Twinings French Vanilla Chai. This is so good. Okay, let me put these over here. Or I can just put them over there. Yeah. Okay, I'm back in frame. Right? I'm back in frame? Thank you. Hello. So this is my official video reply, or VR for short, to Maha's Treasure Box's hashtag Tarot Tag 11. I have not done a VR to any kind of tag, much less a tarot tag, in far too long. So I wanted to, that's why this screen has the questions. So I'm going to take a sip of my cosmically charged combo tea. Oh, this is so good. I added a little bit of sugar, a little bit of white sugar and milk, whole milk. So good. So, question number 1. When and how did you first discover tarot? So I first discovered, so let me give you some perspective. So I'm currently 48 years of age, and I first discovered tarot when I was 8. So 40 years ago, 4 decades ago is when I first discovered tarot. I remember my area had a new bookstore. It was called Books at Discount. And I remember I had asked my mother if I could go to the bookstore. So she said that I could not go alone, but if our upstairs neighbor Vicky accompanied me, I could go. So I went upstairs or downstairs, because we lived upstairs. I went downstairs and I asked Vicky if she could accompany me. She said yes. We went to the bookstore. It was only a few blocks away from our apartment building. And I remember at one point I was, well, first of all, I was thrilled. I felt like the proverbial kid in a candy store. And I was super happy looking at all these beautiful books. And I remember at one point I saw this box. And it wasn't a book per se. It was a box. And in the box were tarot cards. And it was specifically the Rider-Waite Tarot, which is sometimes called the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot, which is the tarot deck created by Arthur Edward Waite and illustrated by the late and great Pamela Coleman Smith. And I remember asking one of the owners, "What's this?" And she said, "These are tarot cards." And I remember it was a husband and wife couple. And I don't remember the husband's name offhand, but the wife's name was Dorothy. And I remember Dorothy said, it's a deck of tarot cards. And I said, okay. And that's when I first discovered tarot, 4 decades ago. Okay. How long have you been working with tarot? That's a different answer. So this is my own part 2 to question number 1. The tarot deck I purchased that same day, and for 8 years it collected dust. And it wasn't until my brother was dating this girl, and she was like, "Ooh, tarot cards, can I use it?" I said, "Sure." And I had the nerve to get jealous. It was collecting dust for 8 years. Why am I jealous? So I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to get jealous, I might as well start using them. And then I got over my jealousy, obviously. So I began working with the tarot when I was 16. So I've been working with the tarot 26, 36, 46, 47, 48 for 3 decades and 2 years. Okay. Hello. Okay. Do you consider yourself a deck collector? It's funny because I first found out about this tarot tag from Lance M. Juniper, and I loved his answer to this question. And and for the record, I love the answer, but it also happens to be true for me. So to quote Lance M. Juniper, yes and no. I do collect tarot decks, but I only buy tarot decks, and I'm going to also add oracle card decks when I'm divinely guided. And I can honestly say that in January of 2017, I purchased one tarot deck, and it was the Everyday Witch Tarot, the kit. And that was the only tarot deck that I purchased in 2017. I did not purchase any other tarot decks. I didn't purchase any oracle card decks in 2017, other than that one tarot kit. This year, I've been divinely guided to purchase several tarot decks and oracle card decks. So there's a part of me that, yes, I am a deck collector. And there's also a part of me that's like, well, if I'm not divinely guided to buy this deck, then why am I going to buy it? And I've talked about this with clients, with fellow witches. I've written about this on my professional, metaphysically oriented WordPress blog, This Is Who I Am. And I've also shared this with close friends. I find that if I do something that I'm divinely guided to do, it almost always works well. And if I do something that I am not divinely guided to do, it never works well. So this year, my divine guidance has led me to purchase more tarot decks and oracle card decks, and I'm following that divine guidance. I know some people that every time they're paid, every time they receive their paychecks, they purchase a deck. Meaning that every time they're paid, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly or monthly or what have you, they always buy a deck. Me personally, I follow my divine guidance, and there are several decks that I've been divinely guided to purchase, and some of them I have purchased, some of them I've received as holiday gifts and birthday gifts, and some of them I haven't purchased yet for whatever reason or reasons. So to answer so that's the long answer, but the short answer to question number 3, do you consider yourself a deck collector? Yes and no. Question number 4, do you cleanse your decks? Yes. I'll tell you this. I remember telling somebody who used to give readings at Catland that I often felt that I didn't meditate enough, and I meditate plenty. I also feel that I don't cleanse my decks enough. I cleanse my decks plenty. But yes, I definitely cleanse my decks. In a video that I uploaded maybe more than a year ago, I actually gave everybody I actually demonstrated how I cleanse my decks. And I use representations of the 4 arcane elements: a candle for fire, incense for air, a crystal for earth, and Florida water for water. I personally would not use a deck that I did not cleanse beforehand. I would not use a deck for a reading for myself or someone else unless I had cleansed it first and charged it first and done all the other things that I have learned to do, that I have been taught to do, that I've been divinely guided to do. So yes, I definitely cleanse my decks, and I'm pretty sure that I cleanse them plenty, and yet there's a part of me that feels that I don't cleanse them enough. Okay. Question number 6. Do you use any system of correspondences with tarot? Yes, I do. I use several. I use Western astrology. So a lot of the major arcana cards, well, actually with all the major arcana cards, I know which signs and which planets correspond to them, as well as which elements. With the minor arcana, I don't remember offhand what their astrological correspondences are. I know that with, I believe it's the pip cards, aces through tens, it's a planet and sign combination. And I believe, and don't quote me on this because I have a vague recollection of this, but I believe that Four of Wands corresponds to the astrological placement of Mars and Aries. Since wands traditionally correspond to fire signs, all of the wands traditionally correspond to a planet in a fire sign. But I had this recollection of it being Mars and Aries. And I could be wrong about the planet, but I seem to recall that it's in Aries. It's a planet in the sign of Aries that is the astrological, or rather the Western astrological correspondence of that card. And I also use numerology, which the ancients believed was the sister to astrology. I've also begun using elemental correspondences with the tarot, and the witch in me tends to look at the deity correspondences with the cards. Given that my heritage is Cuban, when I look at the Empress card, I often think of Oshun, who is the Afro-Caribbean goddess of all that flows, of love, of money, of sweetness, of honey, of joy, of music, of dance. And yet, when I look at the High Priestess card, there is only Osset, the ancient Egyptian goddess more commonly known as Isis. Although there are very few tarot decks where I think of Imoja, which is another way of saying Yamaya, who is the Afro-Caribbean goddess of the ocean waters. Question number 7. What is the one deck that you feel most comfortable using no matter the situation? When I first saw this question, I couldn't help but think of Hermit's Cave, formerly known as Two Spirit, with regards to his soul deck video. And, it's funny because more than a year later, I'm sorry, I got distracted. I'm going to ask my awesome audiovisual person a question. Is everything okay? Okay, just checking. So when I first saw, let me get back on track. So question number 7. What is the one deck that you feel most comfortable using no matter the situation? Now, when I first saw this question, and when I first heard this question, both from Maha and from the video responses to her hashtag TarotTag11 thus far, I haven't seen all of them yet. I'll get there. I could not help but think of the video that Hermit's Cave, formerly known as Two Spirit, did about a soul deck. And it's amazing to me, and I really consider this an acknowledgement of how amazing Hermit's Cave is, or rather Simon of Hermit's Cave is, with regards to his study of the tarot, his practice of the tarot, and everything that he brings to YouTube in general, not to mention Instagram, and the positive influences and the prospering influences he has in my own life, professionally and personally. But I feel that to simply and directly answer the question, the Robin Wood Tarot by Robin Wood, that has been one of my personal favorite tarot decks for years and years. I am long overdue to give myself a copy that is for my exclusive use. I am long overdue to purchase another copy so that I have another copy available to use when I give readings at public venues. It is a decidedly pagan tarot deck. It is one of the most visually appealing and artistically stunning tarot decks I've ever used. And I've often found that it is an excellent deck for anyone, regardless of their level of tarot practice. So if you are a novice, if you are a beginner, if you are an advanced tarot user, if you are a master tarot level user, if you are a teacher level tarot user, I think it is an amazing deck that anybody could use, regardless of their level of tarot proficiency. And I'm going to segue for a moment. I remember I used to have the honor and pleasure of facilitating meetings with a group called the Tarot Lovers Club. It was a group that I co-created with 4 individuals, 4 who were not only, well, 2 of them, no, 1, 2, okay, so of those 4, 2 of them ongoingly use my psychic services on a regular basis. 1 has not availed herself of my psychic services in more than 10 years, primarily because I've lost touch with her, and that's okay. Those things happen. And 1 because she died. But I remember, and there was another person who uses my psychic services regularly. So there were technically 5, but officially 4 other individuals who participated in both my very first beginner's level and my very first intermediate/advanced level tarot courses. And one of those individuals invited a friend of hers to come to a Tarot Lovers Club meeting. This is a woman who purchased her very first tarot deck that same day. Never owned a tarot deck in her life before that day. And didn't know anything about the tarot, but what impressed me the most, twofold. Number 1, she dove right in. She was like, you know what? I don't know shit about tarot, and I'm just going to jump in and participate fully. And she had an amazing insight with the Empress card. And I remember she said, it looks like somebody's mother. And that blew me away, because I would expect that kind of an insight from somebody who's been studying the tarot for years and years, from somebody who's been studying the tarot for a few months, for even a few weeks. But somebody who purchased their very first tarot deck that same day, that insight blew me away. I found that to be an incredible insight from somebody who didn't know shit about the tarot. And I was just like, damn. Like, that really impressed the hell out of me. And I was like, wow. So I find that the Robin Wood Tarot by Robin Wood really is a great tarot deck that anybody can use regardless of their level of proficiency. Those of you who are of the witchy, pagan, and Wiccan persuasion, you will love the imagery of the deck. It is definitely a Rider-Waite-Smith oriented deck with regards to its imagery as well. And it's just a beautiful deck. I mean, and I'm somebody that I when I think of artwork, I don't think of Celtic artwork first, but I love the Celtic knot design on the back of each card. So, I mean, I can go on and on and on about this deck, but it really is one of my personal favorite tarot decks. It's been one of my personal favorite tarot decks for years, and it is certainly a tarot deck that I would use regardless of the situation. I would certainly use it on a client who's never had a reading before, and I would use it on a client who's had readings for years and years and years. With regards to personal use, when the moon is waxing, I use the Mythical Goddess Tarot, which was created by the late and great Sage Holloway and illustrated by the current and great Kristen. I'm saying her name wrong. Hold on. And I know we're coming to a pause. Catherine Skaggs. And then I use the, when the moon is waning, I use the Dark Goddess Tarot created and illustrated by Ellen Lorenzi Prince. But that's for my personal use. Like, if I want to pull a tarot card for the day with that kind of a situation, I'll do that. Now let me go to the next question. Question number 8. Other than doing readings, do you use tarot in any other way? Let me try that again. Take 2. Question number 8. Other than doing readings, do you use tarot in any other way? Evi. Why am I saying Evi? In any other way? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yes, I dippity do. Okay, let me just put this down. Okay, so yes, I use tarot for ritual work and spellcraft. I use tarot to gain insight into a professional endeavor or a personal matter. I am long overdue to use tarot for dream work. I have on very infrequent occasions, and I definitely use tarot as a way of inspiring me. I use it as a tool for divine inspiration. And I remember when I first, and I want to acknowledge another part of Maha's Treasure Box's initial video, because when she began sharing that she uses tarot to teach people who are learning English, I thought of Italo Calvino, and I thought of his novel, The Castle of Crossed Destinies. And the gist of the novel is that these people find themselves in this castle. They have no idea how they got there. They are stripped of the power of speech. They're essentially mute. But they use a tarot deck, specifically Le Masse Tarot, to tell everybody how they got there, or rather what happened before they got there. And it is one of the few tarot-themed novels out there. So when I first learned of this book, and I first learned of this book through one of Mary Kay Greer's books in her one of her tarot trilogies, and I don't remember the name of it. This is so bad. I was so impressed with it. I'm like, I have to buy this novel. And I did, and I devoured it, and I'm long overdue to read it again. But it's Italo Calvino, who actually I found out is not Italian. He's Cuban. He was born in a suburb of Havana. Can you imagine? But I was thoroughly impressed with it. So when Maha shared that she teaches people that are learning English for the first time, or learning English as a second language, and she uses tarot as part of her teaching, I was very impressed with that. I'm like, yeah. So that's how, and of course sometimes I do use tarot as part of my journal writing practice. It's like, okay, what do I need to write about? And then I pull a card and there it is. Okay, question number 9. Do you read tarot for predicting the future? Professionally, yes. Personally, no. I have a lot of clients who want to know what the future holds. And if that's what they want to ask, I'm going to honor that. I have this thing, and this has been part of my personal and professional tarot credo for a while. I will answer any question as long as it does not have to do with somebody's physical death, whether the client's or someone the client knows. If they want to ask about Madonna, if they want to ask about Jay-Z, if they want to ask about whatever, whomever, whyever, I'm okay with that. If they want to ask about somebody's death, I'm not doing it. Because I do not believe that anybody would benefit from that information, least of all me. And I practice what I teach. And one of the things that I've told people over the years, both clients and people that will never come to me for a reading, is that you must be prepared for the answer before you ask the question. If you're not sure you want to know the answer to that question, don't even bother asking it. Because if you even talk about it when I'm conducting a reading for you, if you even talk about it in my presence, something will come to me unbidden. And I will be honor bound to tell you what I saw and what I heard and what they said. And I distinctly remember I was in a training class for a position of employment that I had a few years ago, well, more than a few years ago. And I remember I had just told one of my classmates that I read tarot professionally. And she asked a question. Now, I don't remember if I had a tarot deck in my bag or not. I know that I did not have a tarot deck on the table in the training class. That I know, and that I remember with complete clarity. But I do not remember offhand if I had a tarot deck in my bag. But I remember she asked a question, and I got an answer. And I told her what the answer was before I could even stop myself. And she was like, that's not what I wanted to know. I'm like, then why did you ask the question? There are some things that I don't want to know. And I think one of the best pieces of advice that I can give someone is, do not ask the question if you are not prepared for the answer. If you have this one smidgen of doubt, if you have this one smidgen or more than a smidgen of discomfort regarding the possible answer to a question, do yourselves an enormous favor. Do not ask the question, because I'll get something. If you just talk about it, I'll get something. And then I have a choice. I only have, actually that's not true, I'll have two choices. Either I'll have to say what it is that I got, or I'll have to say, I'm sorry, the reading is done, let me arrange for your refund. And that will be that. So, be prepared for the answer if you're going to ask the question. Question number 10. If you could be any card in tarot at this point in your life, which card would you be? I thought about this. I would want to be the Fool. Some of you are surprised about that, but I'll tell you why. I love the fact that I'm not prone to jealousy and I'm not prone to envy. I can be insecure at times, absolutely, about a lot of things and with some of the people that are in my life. But jealous of people's things? No. Am I jealous of Beyonce's wealth? Not for a second. Am I jealous of her fame? Not for a second. Am I jealous that Jay-Z's married to Beyonce? Not for a second. Am I jealous of anybody who's wealthy? Not at all. Am I jealous of anybody who owns Harry Winston diamonds? Not at all. Am I jealous of anybody who lives in a penthouse in the Upper East Side of Manhattan? No. There is one kind of person that inspires in me jealousy or envy. And it's very minute, but at times it feels like it's consuming my entire body. That's people that are free-spirited. I consider myself self-expressed, and I know myself to be self-expressed. But to me, self-expressed is not the same as free-spirited. To me, somebody who is a free spirit, they will dance as naturally as they breathe. I have been in the presence of people that are free spirits. My very first spiritual teacher was a free spirit. She would hear music playing and she would start dancing. And she didn't care if she was dancing on a busy street in Manhattan or if she was dancing on the streets of the Bronx where she lives. But it would be wherever that second of music moved her body and soul, and she would start dancing. That is somebody that I refer to as a free spirit. That is somebody that I know is a free spirit. The Fool is so free-spirited. He is willingly walking off a cliff. That is how amazingly vast and powerful his faith in the divine is. And that's how free-spirited he is. Like walking off a cliff. That, yes. So I would love to be the Fool. There is a part of me that would love to be the Fool and be that free-spirited. That I hear some music and I start dancing in the street. That I just like move. That I just like forget that I have ever been afraid of anything or anyone in my entire life. That free-spiritedness, man, it makes me salivate, it makes me cringe, it makes me crave. You know, and I'm going to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. I don't often think about this, let alone share this so publicly. But it's something that I know has come up for me lately. It's like there's an emotional wound behind this craving, behind this thing about free-spiritedness that I know I'm going to heal this year, this calendar year of 2018. It hasn't happened yet. But I will tell you that, yeah, it's like, you want to make me envious of you? Be a free spirit. That'll do it. Your beauty, your success, your fame, your wealth, that won't do it. You being so free-spirited that you literally dance in the streets when you hear some music and you don't give a shit how well you're dancing or how not well you're dancing, that'll do it. That will do it. And question number 11. Which one card in tarot has been most difficult for you to connect with? And how have you finally become more comfortable with it? Now, I must admit, I've watched Maha's initial video twice. I watched Lance M. Juniper's video response to hashtag TarotTag11 once. I've heard this question 3 times. Nothing came to me. However, between the time that I watched the video, Maha's video that I'm going to link in the description box for this video, and recording this video, my video response, I came up with something. This was technically unbidden because I really didn't think there was any card in the tarot that I was uncomfortable with at one point. I thought that I was initially comfortable with every tarot card in the tarot. I stand corrected. So for me, it was Trump 15, the Devil card. And for me, I think the reason why I was initially uncomfortable with this tarot card was because even though I'm a happily recovered Catholic now, there was a time that I was a happily recovering Catholic. And there was a time that I was a Catholic in name only. Me going to church once or twice, that doesn't make me a Catholic. It doesn't, and not in my opinion. So I needed to get over my shit about the devil. And I needed to begin looking at this well, this is a Judeo-Christian ideal, this is a Judeo-Christian concept. The life and the study of the witch has nothing to do with hell and Satanism and all that other stuff. But it was when I began comparing the similarities in imagery of the Devil card to the Hierophant card. And I found them very interesting to me on several levels. First of all, here we have the Devil card, which is, the bane of a Christian's existence or a Catholic's existence. And then you have the Hierophant card, which usually represents a priest. One of the most powerful leaders in a Christian church. And then I noticed that here you have the Hierophant, which is the German word for high priest, seated on a throne, and in front of him are kneeling 2 acolytes. And of course there are the metal keys. And then of course you have the Devil card, which has 2 figures chained at the bottom, at the stage, if you will, of the Devil's throne. I'm like, keys are made of metal, shackles are made of metal. Both of these cards correspond to an earth sign. Taurus for the Hierophant, Capricorn, my sun sign, for the Devil. And then you have the fact that you have these 2 powerful figures seated on a throne. I'm like, okay. And then, of course, the fact that each of these numbers contains the number 5. 5 numerologically or numerically is written as 05. And then you have 15, 1 and 5 next to each other. Even in Roman numerals, you have the V for 5 and you have the XV for 15. I'm like, okay, 5 is the number of change. What's the change? What's the change behind these cards? What's the change that these cards are serve as catalysts? I'm trying not to end this under the preposition, but it is after midnight. These 2 cards are catalysts for change. They're change for what? What's the catalyst of change for? And then I began to feel more comfortable with the Devil card. I'm like, okay, I know my sun sign very well. And because I know my sun sign very well, I know what the strengths of my sun sign are. I know what the weaknesses of my sun sign are. So the Devil card reminds me on a personal level to play up my strengths as a sun sign Capricorn and play down my weaknesses as a sun sign Capricorn. And to remember to focus on strengthening the strengths of my sun sign Capricorn energy and continually diminish the weaknesses of my sun sign Capricorn energy. And that's question number 11. So I want to thank Maha's Treasure Box for creating hashtag Tarot Tag 11. I love that she decided to use the number 11 because if you add up the digits of 2018, you get 11. She doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to tell her now. I'm considering this a belated birthday gift because I couldn't help but notice that this video was uploaded, or rather the initial Maha's Treasure Box hashtag Tarot Tag 11 video was uploaded on January 31st, 2018, which, if my memory serves me correct, was a Wednesday. And it was also the date of the full moon in Aquarius, which happens to be my natal moon sign. And I usually celebrate my birthday in every day of January, in spite of having my birthday be January 8th. I have decided to tag 3 people in this video. So when you see your name, tag your it. And of course, I want to thank Lance M. Juniper for making his debut YouTube video on his YouTube channel a video response to this tarot tag. So there'll be a link to his video in the description box below. And I absolutely want to thank those people who have already done a video response to Maha's Treasure Box's hashtag Tarot Tag 11. And of course, if you have not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, the YouTube channel of yours truly, Robert Alvarez, the Psychic Witch, also known as Mr. Lighting and a Fan, I invite you to do so. Please make sure that you click or tap the bell icon. That way you will receive a notification every time I upload a video. And if you have not already scheduled a reading with me or any other type of metaphysical or psychic service that I offer, I highly recommend you do so as soon as possible. Most of you know by now that I'm giving readings at Notions and Potions on Saturday, June 9th, 2018 from 12 noon until 6:30 p.m. I do recommend appointments, but I will be available for walk-ins on that date as well. I continue to have the honor and pleasure of giving readings at Catland, both in person at the store, in the Bushwick section of Brooklyn, by phone via Catland, by Skype via Catland, and if neither one of those locations work for you, there's always Ripley Greer Studios in Manhattan. There's always phone readings, Skype readings, and of course email readings. And I want to wish all of you a beautiful and blessed, loving and abundant bright moon in Sagittarius. May it bring you a great deal of success and joy and peace.